Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there and welcome to the program. It is August 9th and we have an hour to spend together. I look forward to it. I am looking forward to it. My sister Susan is joining us from Chicago.
I'm back in
Chicago. So, Suze, yesterday I was at a local food market, and a gentleman who walked in with me was sort of giving me that look that I recognize now as, aren't you, aren't
someone
you?
I know.
And so I was looking back at him, and I smiled and said, Lynn? He said, yes, Lynn, hi, how are you? How's your sister? Just wanted to tell you, Suze.
Well, he was just trying to prove he knew which Lynn you were.
Yeah, right. How's your sister? I said, she's fine. So, you watching the Olympics, Susan?
I am here and there.
Okay, me too.
I used to just adore them, but I have to say
Why? He says, I feel the same way. So why is that? Because they're too packaged,
It's too packaged. It's too, you sort of don't get to see enough of any one thing. You're hopping all over the place.
Right, right.
And I don't know, maybe it's that it's our 495th millionth, Olympics.
I don't think it's that. I do think it's the former. I think it's how packaged and I don't want to. I don't know. Just show me the contest. Show me the competition.
Well,
without all these
airbrush
portraits.
For example, like the men's gymnastic team,
mm-hmm.
and I watched it just sporadically here and there, and I heard the commentator say the same exact thing 7 times. So if I am only watching it here and there, how many times? I now know that the reason that the men on the rings open their fingers is so that the judges don't think that they're on their wrists. Okay, I know that. But that's all they ever say when they're on the rings. Now you see, he opened his fingers, and that's to signal. Yeah.
Okay, so you say, got that? Tell me something else. I was railing yesterday about the beach volleyball women's.
Why do they have to wear bikinis?
I don't think they have to.
Explain to me why.
They don't, because Margaret sent me a picture of the Germans playing the Egyptians, and the Egyptians were covered head to toe. They had, their heads covered, they had their hair covered, and they were in long sleeves and long pants. You don't have to wear a bikini. And then I saw the men's. Do you ever see the men's? You never see men's beach volleyball, do you?
And they were just wearing shorts.
Like relatively long shorts and T-shirts.
Right.
Yeah, right. So there's I sort of thought, well, we know why the women are wearing bikinis. It's so we even know what beach volleyball is. There would be no audience. Suze.
Yeah, I got it.
I know you do.
Just because a game originated, I mean, this is just, go down to the lakefront in Chicago and you'll see rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of volleyball nets set up, and there are,
people playing.
Leagues.
Yeah.
And, so it's a game that originated on the sand.
Sure. And people are wearing bathing suits.
Where people are wearing bathing suits. But there was no requirement ever that it was only babes in bikinis.
And very little teeny-weeny bikinis.
And very as teeny-weeny as possible, and that gets you back to your conversation of a couple of weeks ago about why women are shaving everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I think it'd be better for them to show themselves as they are, with hair in places. Anyway.
Well, just the fact that one of our the blonde with that has 3 kids and is out there, or I don't know if she has 3 kids, but she has at least 1, maybe 2, and she's out there in that figure and just beating the crap out of anybody that stands on the other side of the net is sort of fun to watch, I have to admit. It's very, very good. But I would be happier watching them with some clothes on. And
yeah, I would too. I find it...
I'm afraid that, the bra was going to slide.
Yeah, I find it very distracting. I really do. And I'm sure men find it even more distracting. They're straight up and down bean poles, Right. There's not much jiggling. They got no body fat. I know. But it's just whatever. Then, last night, they had synchronized diving on. I forgot who said the other day, anything with synchronized in it, I won't watch. But synchronized diving was on. And those guys, it was men,
were also in little teeny bikinis.
They were wearing nothing. They might as well just not wear anything. Just forget about it. I mean, my God, they were naked, essentially, except we couldn't see their package. Although you could see the outlines of the package.
Pretty much could, yeah.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, and then here's what I want to know about synchronized diving. Why after so they do this splash, and then they're out of the water in 2 seconds, and then they go and shower.
They hop into a hot tub sometimes.
Yeah, but what? Excuse me. Whoa.
To wash the chlorine off? I don't know.
Well, they go right back in for another dive. I mean, what the hell's that about? I don't get it.
There's this whole routine.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. And here's the thing that bothered me about synchronized diving. So when the 2 guys go up there and they each perform a dive, is that 1 dive or 2 dives?
That's 1 dive.
It's 1 dive, but it's really not. It's 2 dives done in a synchronized manner.
Yeah, but it's one. Their whole thing is that you take 2. Susan, it's 1 dive as a dive, it being the unit of the sport.
Yeah, I got it.
And if they win gold, yes, they both get a gold medal, but there's only 1 gold that goes. It don't get
I'm
2.
just saying they both have to do the dive in a synchronized manner, and so it's 2 dives that looks as if it's 1.
Right.
But,
I know. And I'm just saying the Chinese...
It's just pricking at my ear when we're happening. And I also was, I don't know, did you hear our guys, be so happy about their silver because the Chinese guys were just...
The Chinese guys were so far ahead of that.
Weird. It was so. I don't even know how do you
do that? I don't know.
What is the physics of getting the exact same velocity?
I don't know. The Chinese were so clearly, they shouldn't even bother having to compete. Okay, give them the gold and let everybody else fight for the rest of it. I mean, they were so far and away better. So the U.S. comes in second, and I got to tell you, when they won the silver, here's what upset me. All the other teams, the Chinese were all happy, yay, 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 we got another gold. And whoever took, I think the Brits or something were, yay, 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 we got bronze. And they cut to the Americans, and the Americans are in a scrum. The 2 divers, their coaches, and they've got their heads down and their arms around each other, and I thought, they're praying. And sure, that's what they were doing.
That's what. Okay, we were
wait a minute.
having the same thoughts.
They were praying, and then they get interviewed.
Yeah.
And it was Christ.
He is my way. None of this matters.
Right. Both of them. And I thought, to hell with your ostentatious piety. I wanted to punch them both out. I did. I hated them.
Frankly, I have to admit, as I said, you and I were sitting there having the exact same thought. I was going, really? This is about sport, guys. And
it's not about your ostentatious display of your Christianity.
Yeah. I'm glad God's in your life, and I'm glad that nothing else matters as long as that is the case. That everything, but there's a time and a place.
That's what I think. A lot of people, I'm sure a lot of athletes, are very religious. Imagine, Susan, if one of the people wearing a Muslim athlete, after they won, instead hit the ground and started bowing and, thising and thatting. People would go... yeah, right. What they said? Allah Akbar. That's what exactly
what our guys said.
Jesus God.
Everybody, they would have shot him. I mean, really, there's a time and a place. Everybody take their religion and hold it close to their heart where it belongs.
Well, that's what we think. That's what Susan and I come from a family and a religion, at least the way we practice the religion, where you don't rub it in people's faces.
Of course, well, that might come from 2,000 years of persecution.
Right. Jew? I'm not a Jew. Did you say Jew?
Where?
What?
I'm French.
All right, okay. So the other great story from the Olympics, the other great story is the Brazilian fans. Suze, did you read this article? So the Brazilian fans, who are obviously showing up at everything,
because they can get tickets. Anybody else was afraid to go.
Right. So there's tickets to anything, and anytime there's a Brazilian competitor, these Brazilian fans they're Brazilian, and they're very noisy, and they're noisy in sports that are not used to any noise. So, table tennis, for instance. They're screaming and yelling and booing and hooting, and some of the competitors are simply
home team advantage.
Yeah, right. They're coming undone. Here's one competitor from Spain who said she was shocked and unnerved by the jeering from Brazilian fans during her table tennis match. She said, "We're not used to this. It was just weird." So she really got rattled. Table tennis is something where you sit there and, like tennis, where it's like,
ping pong.
Yeah, I know it's ping pong. But so the fans are not... Here's where the Brazilians are going wrong, though, I must say, given what we know of as the Olympic spirit.
Right.
They are actively booing and jeering the other... they're not just cheering for their own. They're like when the other opponent is trying to do something or something, they're jeering them. They're jeering them when, like at volleyball, when they're about to serve, they're booing every time they get. It's just they're at a football game. And apparently, there's been an attempt by the Olympic people there to quiet them, and they say things like, they said the word you hear over and over again at every match, at every contest is Silenzio, please. Silenzio, please. And a lot of good it does. So it apparently, in the fencing match, which is also one of those sort of, decorous, quiet events, they're hooting, hollering, jumping all over the place. So there's been an effort to educate them that this is the Olympics. And, at least don't boo the other, but they are. They're booing everybody, left and right. Just so as you know. I love it. The beach volleyball, they whistled and jeered when the Canadians even served. And what was that they were shouting, Zika, Zika, Zika at one of the...
They were?
Yeah, they were. I'll tell you.
Well, I know what. No, I know what that was about.
What was that about?
That was because she had posted pictures of herself in mosquito netting and with all an array of anti-bug sprays and telling anybody that needed anything to come and see her. And so she had made a big thing about it. And when she came out, they just started screaming Zika, Zika at her.
Oh, okay. So, Suze, anyway, Chuck is telling me that the ratings, I guess, are down for these Olympics because of the way they're covering them. They're just screwing with everybody. Caller, hi. Hello.
Morning.
Hi.
I just want to touch on that religion thing you were talking about. That's what turned me on religion is people rubbing it in your face. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
Yeah.
Or they're out there and you'll hear them say, he came from a good Christian family. And I'm thinking to myself, I guess if he came from an atheist family, he wouldn't be no damn good. And it's just the stuff like that. It really, if I do believe, I'm not going to tell you. That's how I believe it. I grew up in Catholic religion. I don't go to church anymore or anything. But it's like that rub. And then the really thing that really gets me is you'll be out in people you'll see that maybe you worked with in the past, and they'll say, pray for him if they're sick or something. Or I'll pray for you. And I'm like saying, please don't. I almost feel like saying, don't pray for me. Because I don't really believe in that prayer thing anyway. Never did.
Oh, I'll let them go. It's not worth making
I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
If I was an atheist, you're assuming that I'm a religious person. I'm a Christian. I'm going to tell you if I am or not. I might have a little bit of belief in it, maybe not.
Yeah.
But to push it in my face.
Let me tell you a little secret. When they're praying for you, it's more about how it makes them feel.
Exactly.
Than about how it makes you feel.
Exactly.
So they feel like they're doing something. So let them feel like they're doing something.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It doesn't, thank you, but no. It's like sneezing on me.
What? You two, honestly, come on.
Well,
I'll pray for you to get a better attitude.
No.
Yeah.
You just got under my skin, and that's another one.
Okay.
Religion and politics.
Okay, yeah.
I stay away from. Only when I call your show, I complain about it. And I figure it's an outlet.
Yeah, it's an outlet for you. Meanwhile, you dump your crap all over here all the time and then leave.
Well, everything after you're done talking.
Yeah, you feel better, see, after making the call, right?
Right.
After you call up and depress the hell out of everybody, and then you feel good.
That's right.
Well, goodbye.
Good. You should send her a check for $50 for the 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Jeez. Yeah, Chuck says, I'm so frustrated by the TV coverage of these Olympics. I am too. And apparently, who gives it? I don't know.
Well, there are ways.
You can live stream, and that's what he says. I've just taken to streaming online, which gives you more choice.
Right, you could. It's all there, but then I have to ask myself, how much do I care? That I will. If something wonderful happens, it'll be replayed 8,000 times anyway.
Exactly. Have you seen the meme that's out today called Michael Phelps' face?
No.
Oh, please.
Oh, no, I have. I saw it in real time last night.
Okay, but no, you got to see. People are going nuts with this thing. They are doing. They are like it does. They're superimposing him over like the Emperor from Star Wars and stuff. It absolutely looks diabolical, and I mean they're having so much fun. They said this is going to surpass the crying Michael Jordan and all these other memes that are out there. This is the meme. What this other?
I thought he was wonderful. If you were watching it in real time, though, this Australian was being such a jerk.
I know this Australian. It was what?
And then he lost. It was just perfect.
What was the Australian trying to do? This right before the race, and he's like
taunting him.
Are you sure he was just loosening up? No.
No. He was making faces at him, then grinning at the camera. He was just doing whatever he could to interfere with Phelps' own concentration in what he was doing.
Celine just looked up the face and she's cracking up. You gotta focus in on it, Celine. You cannot imagine how grotesque it is. It is the face from. So all over Twitter, people are captioning what that face means. The time or when someone tells me, or whatever. And some of it is very, very funny.
Well, in fact, what that face meant is the time right before I went out and beat this guy's pants off.
Okay. And speaking of that, you have the American woman's swimmer, King, knocking off that Russian woman after the American had taunted her the night before with this finger thing, the number one. So they were swimming side by side.
No. You're skipping a step.
Okay, the Russian, when she finished
started it.
She just put her finger up. Whatever.
Said
I'm number one. And the American said, "You're number one. We'll see tomorrow." And then she won. The American.
Right.
And the Russian. But did I hear people were booing her when she was on the getting her silver medal? See, I mean, enough already, guys.
Well, I don't know that that's true.
That is true.
The backstory on that one is that she was
doping.
Doping, right?
I know. Gee.
And the swimmers that
Susan.
dope. What?
Speaking of doping, do you see that they've now totally thrown out? They didn't throw out the whole Olympic team from Russia, but you know what they've done? They've thrown out the entire Paralympic team.
Right.
Do you mean what? That they were doping the Paralympics?
Well, they might have been.
There was a.
It's all about building excess muscle mass, and so you need it whether you're a Paralympian or a regular Olympian. But it's cheating you anyway, and I get that athletes that don't do it don't like competing against athletes that have.
Well,
but
yeah.
The fact of the matter is that our athletes are winning, and Lily came out this morning, by the way, and said, and by the way, I don't think American athletes that have been found to be doping should be allowed back in the Olympics either.
Ever. You're saying.
Ever.
Really? So some people are saying that the other reason they hate this broadcasting is how sexist the whole goddamn thing is. So the Chicago Tribune posted a picture on Twitter. They tweeted this, but I think that was their headline as well. They have a woman athlete holding up a bronze medal, and they show her picture, and then under it says this: wife of Bears lineman wins a bronze in Rio.
Right. Don't even say her name.
Well, it said she's married to a football player. Right. And in fact, this was her second medal. She won in Beijing. She is an athlete in her own right, and they didn't say her name. Then there's the Hungarian female swimmer who won gold last night, and her husband's her trainer, and he seems like a real piece of work.
Her American husband, he seems like a real...
Yeah. And after she won, the play-by-play announcer, Dan Hicks, said, after she wins, they show her husband going cheering, he just really... over the top. And Hicks says, oh, wait a minute. Hicks says, there's the guy responsible.
Right. He gives her all the credit. He gives him all the credit. Well, that really blew up. I mean, people were, posting things like, excuse me, she was the one swimming.
And they're saying they don't even know what to say, right, about a female swimmer. So they asked Michael Phelps about how would he characterize Katie Ledecky. And he says, man, she's a stud. So they're not, I'm not putting Phelps out for saying it, but it shows that the language doesn't even allow for a word that can explain a woman who is.
Well, have you seen Ledecky standing there? She is a stud.
Oh, man.
She looks like a slightly smaller version of Phelps. I mean, they're built like...
Their bodies are weird, yeah.
Yeah.
They're long.
And their shoulders and their muscles form a wing under their arms. I mean, they've adapted to becoming swimming mammals. That's...
Yeah. Yep.
And they sure are gorgeous. She's totally gorgeous to watch because it looks so effortless.
I know, totally. Well, that's when you know someone's really good. It just looks like, huh? Well, it's pretty simple what she's doing there. Okay, so Ansel writes, the Zika jeer started with Hope Solo. Oh, okay, so that was soccer. Hope Solo, who posted photos of herself in mosquito netting. Brazilians started yelling Zika every time Hope Solo, she's the goalie for our women's soccer team, would punt the ball. And now this jeer is stuck and is being used by Brazilians at all sports. They're just squawking Zika. Yeah. And then Ansel writes, sad to hear B.E. Taylor passed away at 65. This is a singer from here, Susan. You were talking about characters the other day. B.E. Taylor was a character. I'm sorry to say that I didn't ever hear him. I didn't go to his concerts. I was aware he was a lot of people in town loved him. And I'm sorry about that. Wait a minute. Okay, I think that's it. Anything else on the wonderful Olympics? Oh, Jesus. Okay.
But I would like to point out that you were so worried about Pennsylvania, and you're way against Trump. And Missouri is like the only state around that's solid, that's like red. It's going to go Trump.
Is it really?
I am so happy I left.
But it ain't over, but yeah, right. I mean, he's, thank God, self-destructing. And Susan, you brought that up right at the right time because I'm looking at an email from Roger, and it says this. I found out last night that my oldest sister, whom I love and respect, who is generous, loving, and giving, actually believes humans walked with dinosaurs. And she hopes to go to the Creation Museum in Kentucky one day. She is an evangelical pro-life Christian who's voting for Trump. She believes the Washington Post and New York Times are not legitimate media. I learned this from another sister who's been living with her the past couple of months. Also, the oldest sister, who lives in a lily-white Maryland suburb, attends a church where the preacher tells his flock, are you suggesting they're sheep? Flock, yes, that they should be collecting guns and ammo in preparation for an invasion from Muslims living in Baltimore and D.C. Come on. There are pro-Trump signs along with lock up Hillary signs throughout the neighborhood. I have two other sisters following Big Sister's lead. These three are college-educated women, and they have been fruitful and multiplied. A lot. Add my younger brother, his wife, and their 4 sons also to the Trump camp. Well, Roger, obviously you're a freak in your family. And, God.
That's happening in a lot of families. I mean, I got a a message from one of my husband's cousins bemoaning the fact that she's no longer speaking to her brother. She's no longer speaking to a brother-in-law on the other side because they were so awful and just attackingly mean to her, for being a Democrat. And we went back and forth about families and politics for a little bit, and I just told her that I had long ago hidden the people that she was talking about and speak to them. But it turned out it didn't matter because they don't speak to me anymore. Which is fine. That's just good.
Well, Roger, though, brings up a fact that has always alarmed me, because he says he's done the math, and he says, here's a little micro statistic from my family. I'm counting siblings, spouses, and their children and children's children. He said the conservative members of my family now number 52. The liberals, 7. Because he says the conservatives procreate. Isn't that the way it always is?
Yeah, it always is, right.
Right. But that's troubling. It's the fundamentalists and conservatives who procreate and then who indoctrinate all of...
There's sure to be some outliers among all those children.
Yeah, but he says it's just a little micro statistic from his family, 52 to 7.
Yeah.
And then Roger says, I didn't sleep last night. I did not sleep last night because he did this math.
No, he was lying in bed counting and doing math and extrapolating.
And Roger, instead, you should have been stooping your wife and procreating. Don't lie in bed doing nothing. Get to work.
Right. Be proactive. Which you and I can no longer do. So.
No, and I got a feeling Roger and his wife can't either. So, okay. We got a call. Hello.
Hello, Clarence.
Hi, Clarence.
Hello, Susan.
Hi, Clarence.
You know who else procreates?
Who?
Hispanics and black people.
That's true. Hispanics and black people do. So that's, yeah.
It's a balance, yeah. That's one of those. It's part of the anti-abortion crowd too. They're afraid that they're losing the numbers. They become conservatives and they have a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole, I don't get the whole. Because I argue with people on Facebook all the time. People I've known for years, decades, ex-teachers, friends from high school. Run into them on the street, we're just fine. So I really don't get that, how people end up not talking to each other because of politics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I've read some of your back and forths, Clarence, and they are usually very polite and well-reasoned, and in a calm voice, written in a calm voice, and that is not how people speak to each other, and write to each other, and it ends up making you ill.
I never fault, because people say, "Hey, you're an idiot," and, you're one of those sheeple, and they go. I just ignore all that. Look at what they're trying to look at their point if they have one, besides calling me names, and argue the point.
Yeah.
I just ignore all that stuff because soon as what did I said something. It's sort of like I said, violence is the what did I call? What did I say? You don't have to throw blows when you have no's. You don't have to throw blows. At KNO.
Yeah.
Right.
Violence is the argument of the ignorant. And right. To be like this, the verbal violence, when people start calling you names and all that kind of good stuff, that's not an argument. That's just ignorance. So I ignore it and make my point. And then somebody says, "Well, why do you keep doing that?" I'm like, I know I'm not changing their minds, but people read this stuff. I said, believe it, I never knew you read my stuff, Susan. Until you just
sure. Not all of it, but I check in.
Yeah, but people just walking around the little town of Canonsburg. Oh, Clarence, I read your stuff all the time. They won't even hit the like button because they're afraid that somebody in their family might see it and start on them. You know what I mean? but they'll whisper in my ear, I read your stuff all the time. And I'm sitting there like confused. I'm like arguing with family members on this thing, and then we'll go have lunch.
Yeah. Well, it's getting rarer and rarer that people can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Sad.
Yeah, and it really is. And I've been trying my best to figure out what's going on. I'm like, people think ideas are them. The little.
Oh, so if you reject their idea, you're rejecting them. They take it personally.
They take it personally.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a good friend of mine named Clyde from high school. I mean, we argue all the time. Just ran into him at a bar the other day. Hey, man, Clarence, love your brother. The Harley Davidson, ex-Marine, driving, tattooed up guy. We argue on everything. Mm-hmm. But as soon as we see each other on the street, we're cool.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Sad.
Yeah,
all right. Well, I can't do this Facebook thing where people are. I just can't.
Well, and I don't do it very often. But when I do it, it's because I think something's important and needs to be said. And I usually don't put my opinions out there in certain contexts because I know that the audience doesn't agree with me, and I seek not to highlight our differences. But at a certain point, I don't care, and it's too important. And
But then you get attacked, right?
Well, I didn't, so we'll see. There are a few brave family members that liked me.
and like I said, to me, they're not attacking you; they're attacking your ideas. So I don't, when people attack my idea, I don't feel personally offended or hurt or anything like that. It's an opinion.
Okay, you're right, Clarence, but...
Right, that's not how people feel. They feel it's the same thing about their religious views, that it is so fundamentally a part of who they are that if you attack that, you attack them.
Right, exactly.
It's who they think they are, it's not who they are.
All right, you and your opinions.
I really can't, I'm serious, I really can't, internalize this. I can't feel it. I'm confused by it.
Well, but, that's where you're Spock-like, and most people are not.
Okay.
Right.
Okay?
Very good, Lynn. He is Spock-like. That's right.
All right, mister.
Okay. All right, have a good day.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye. Oh, there's just one more thing, Susan, this cupping thing.
Yeah.
Is that
I knew what that was. Didn't you know what you were looking at?
Not when I first saw it. I'd never heard of cupping.
Really?
Yeah, but where would you have heard of it?
Oh, I sort of, I don't know. I've known about it for a long time.
Okay.
I know people that do alternative medicine things.
Okay. Well, I saw. I mean, you know what it is? It's a hickey.
It's a hickey. It's nothing other than a hickey. They are walking around with hickeys all over them.
That's what it is. Those are huge hickeys. Mm-hmm. It's the same reason you have a hickey. It's
to all you teenagers out there, when you come home with a large discoloration on your neck, tell your mother it's a form of therapy.
Yes, that you were cupping. Well,
I bet you they were.
We were spooning and cupping and forking. Forking. Yeah. That was fork. And spooning, cupping, forking. Susan.
Yes.
Okay, just a little, if you're eating, this won't go down well, but science section, New York Times today. There is an animal that lives in, I guess, these parts, that is 2 feet long. Here's how it's described. I had no idea. It's a salamander. Okay? The largest salamander in North America. And their efforts to make sure that it doesn't go extinct, and so they're about to set about 255 of them free in Ohio. to see near Columbus to see if they can get them sort of up and going again. There's a picture of one of them. Oh gosh.
Sometimes we have to think about Jurassic Park. Hold on.
Okay, but wait a minute. This is an actual salamander that lives around here. So here's how it's described in the New York Times. And it's a very good description. Take a 2-foot-long mussel. Give it a skeleton. And coat it in multiple layers of snot. I'm not done. Okay, so you got a 2-foot mussel with a skeleton covered in snot, copious amounts of snot. Now you squish the mussel down so it's flat. You add 4 little short legs to it, 18 toes, a big wide mouth, and beady eyes with no eyelids. Then you stretch some skin along the snotty mussel and wrinkle it a little bit on the sides so that it can breathe. And you now have, well, unfortunately, what is called colloquially a snot otter.
Ugh. Well, I'm so glad they decided that the Columbus exurbs were the right person for it.
Well, yeah, the zoo's behind it there. But, I mean, can you imagine it's 2 feet long, Susan? If I saw something like that, it looks a little like an alligator when you first see it. It looks like an alligator.
Yeah, I don't see the snotty part.
Well, it is. It's all covered in slime. And the real name of it is...
The hellbender salamander.
Eastern hellbender. Eastern hellbender. And it says they once were copious in the waters along the Appalachians and as far west as Missouri. So they were all over the place. But I guess farming and development has screwed up their habitat, and we gotta save the snot otters.
Yeah, because they were all on the East Coast. They were in the Appalachian Mountains from New York to Georgia.
Yeah. Save the snot otters. Save the
west of Missouri.
Yeah.
I'm in Missouri.
You're not. Yeah. Listen, Missouri apparently has been taken over by something far worse than the snot otters. Jeez.
Do you know? That Missouri just had like one of the most awful Republican primaries for governor, and like the worst, the Trumpian candidate won.
Sure, the worst of the lot, right?
The Greitens, this ex-SEAL, who's capitalizing on his SEALdom, and all of his campaign ads were shooting semi-automatic rifles.
Oh yeah, be still my heart. That's what'll get him votes.
That's the guy that won.
Wow. You know, some of the most extraordinary vitriol about Trump is in the Wall Street Journal these days. And it's on their opinion page. This guy, Brett Stevens, is just beside himself. Here's what he's calling for today. The only hope for conservatives is a blowout Hillary Clinton victory. Do you believe? That's in the Wall Street Journal. He says a blowout victory, but he's saying that we've got to at least hold the Congress. He says if Trump loses this election narrowly, the fact that it was rigged will have a patina of credibility that he might have won had it not been for, the rigging and for people like me. But a McGovern-style defeat makes that argument impossible, except for the most cretinous. And he called Sean Hannity the other day on television. This same guy called him Fox's dumbest anchor, which is saying something. He called him Fox's dumbest anchor, and Hannity went insane. And he tweeted out, he is a dumbass with his head up his ass. And to which the Wall Street Journal's Bret Stephens replied, so Hannity thus demonstrates he can't even swear competently. This, folks, is Republicans killing each other off.
I know. It's. I have gone from frightened to enjoying it again.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, from you know the 50 you know ex CIA and defense people coming out and going, now come on, you just can't.
You can't do this. Right. You
just can't do this. To the breaking of ranks and
Susan Collins to now come out saying she will not vote for him.
Right.
It's turning into a bit of a tide, and the last lines of this Bret Stephens in today's Wall Street Journal is, you can just hear the tears as he wrote this. I mean, see them. There was a time when the conservative movement was led by the likes of Bill Buckley, by men of ideas who invested the Republican Party with intellectual seriousness. Today's Republican Party is on the road to self-immolation, thanks in part to the veneration of ignorance. To its veneration of ignorance.
Right. They depended on it. They stoked it. They required it. And this is what they get.
Yee-haw! Ruth writes, your caller reminded me of a video I rented recently. It was called The Brainwashing of My Father. Yeah, I saw that. It explains Fox News and talks about normal people who became addicted to their craziness. It explains how their personalities changed. There are actually support groups all over the country for family members of people to whom this has happened. It's sort of like Al-Anon, I guess, then.
Well, you know, I don't think it's that hard to understand. It's the same thing about, you know, trolls, the people that just get on, you know, and wake up in the morning and start saying nasty things to total strangers on the Internet. You truly get addicted to it. You get addicted to the adrenaline that comes with doing it. It's like being addicted. There are chemical changes.
Oh, sure.
And that's what they do at Fox News. They try to make you angry. They try and stir up all of this stuff that literally changes your brain chemistry.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think it's amazing to me how many people don't get it, but they're very angry, and they're the ones that come after you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a sickness.
Yeah. So Ruth in Greenfield, Celine and I went to that. Yeah, we saw it. Right. And she says, P.S. I love the top you have on. Well, thank you. It's one of those big linen boxy things. I think those are fish. You think those are fish? No, my God, they're snot otters. I've got
I'll have to see what you're wearing.
A batik snot otter blouse on. Oh, God. Okay, so Susan, I know that nobody cares, but I feel that I need to speak out for this poor guy, and that would be Emperor Akihito.
I feel sorry for him, too.
Yeah. Can you imagine? He's a friggin' emperor. I mean, his father, the emperor. No, his father, the emperor, during World War II, Japanese, had to admit, after 2,000, the family has been in power, their family, get this, for 2,700 years. Can you even get your head around that?
Well, you remember all the flurry about having to produce another heir here.
Yeah, but they used to let women. There were, in those 2,700 years, there were empresses, I believe. So that's just sort of like, who knows? Culture comes in and says, all of a sudden women can't. But his family goes back, has held the throne, the chrysanthemum throne, for 2,700 years. And the Japanese monarchy is so far and away the oldest in the world because if that one family just has held it. So it was his father who acknowledged that he was not divine. This is after World War II. His father said, we lost. Guess what, guys? I ain't divine. Stop worshiping me. And Akihito is the first totally non-divine emperor that Japan has had. He's 82 years old. He's had heart surgery. He's tired. And do you know they make these guys work their tails off from morning till night? They have zero personal lives. They are kept behind closed doors. They are not allowed. There's like this group, this committee that literally runs their lives. And here's what I read this and I thought, oh gosh, here's a 34-year-old Japanese woman who, when asked by a New York Times reporter, what do you think about the emperor? Humbly, he had to humble himself and ask, please, let me retire. Because you're not supposed to. Please, let me retire. The emperor says. And she says, we speak respectfully about the emperor, but arguably, we use him like a slave. And then that's true. And then she goes on to say, he is our symbol. But as a person, he does not have human rights. That is true. Can you imagine? You're the emperor and you're a slave. And this slave says, please let me just have my last years and have a measure of self-control. I think this is the saddest thing I ever heard. And then his poor son, who's in his 50s, would take over. But none of this can happen unless the Japanese government allows it. And apparently the Japanese government is not inclined to let him retire for all kinds of political reasons. The current government is very sort of conservative and doesn't cotton to what the emperor, they'd rather have a divine emperor.
Well, I say the emperor says, okay, I am the divine emperor, and I ain't going to do this anymore. I'm going to do it. And screw you because I be the emperor.
Oh, God. Here's a guy who's lived his life dutifully. He can't do that. He wouldn't do that. There's a sweetness and a gentleness to him. It's so sad. And his son, who will take over, married that Harvard-educated woman,
right,
who was a diplomat. She's fluent in 1 million languages. She was like the smartest person in her class at Harvard Law School or something. And she agreed to marry the prince, knowing full well she was walking into a prison. And then she went nuts. Remember?
Right, she did. She went nuts.
And she's still there, and she's still a little mentally not right. She couldn't adjust. And then she did not produce a male heir, which further made her a persona non grata. Unbelievable that she threw her life away. But I just thought this regular, ordinary human being, an employee at a cosmetics company in Tokyo, Daisuke Kodaka, nailed it. We speak respectfully about the emperor, but we use him like a slave.
That's very sad. You know,
It is.
You know, you people make up these fairy tales about what these lives are like, and it's nothing like that.
No. No, I mean, I've often thought that, too. I mean, even though you look at, like, the British royals, they have a lot more, freedom, but they're not in a prison. They're in a fishbowl and
Right.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to live.
I would say that Queen Elizabeth basically gave up her life. You know, I mean,
Totally.
and once and did it. Really with this sense of purpose. I mean,
She bought it. She bought it hook, line, and sinker. She's doing what she was supposed to do.
Right, and it's and it could not have been easy, and I think it's sort of admirable.
So Susan, she's 90 years old, and she is still working. It has to work too. When you're one of these figureheads, you go here, you go there, you do this, you do that. And, she's like our mom. She's a physical freak of nature, I guess. She's easily got 10 years in her.
Oh, I think so, too.
That Charles is never going to. And, you think, geez, just step down, Elizabeth, but she can't. She won't. It's because she's totally married to the tradition.
Well, and I think she thinks if she's capable of doing it, that it's her duty to do it.
What an odd.
And she is capable of doing it.
Hey, the Queen that I had my picture taken with, somebody sent me, not too long ago, right, this picture. This gentleman from, I think, Florida, said he was going through his stuff, and he found this picture of me and the Queen and King of Romania.
Oh, right.
Right. And it was about 2 or 3 days ago, I think, in the New York Times, I saw the obit for her. She just died.
Ah.
Yeah, she died. And you know what? I guess the Romanians are going to give her a totally huge funeral, even though that monarchy is, pretty much toast. They're giving her a huge funeral. But, yeah, she died. Anyway, what else we got here? I'm done.
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, you found all sorts of things.
I did.
And I do think that your shirt looks like it's the
snot otter,
hellbender, snot-nosed, whatever.
No, I'll tell you what it looks like.
Fish.
Sperm.
Oh, sperm.
Yes, I am wearing my lovely red linen sperm shirt. Oh, brother. Susan.
Yes.
There was something in the New York Times the other day about a growing trend of mothers who get on airplanes with young children and babies coming on board with little party bags.
Oh, excuse me. My daughter-in-law does that.
Are you kidding?
No,
what does she put in them? Well, he's a good boy. He doesn't make noise.
No, well, I don't think she does it anymore. But the first couple of times that when he was little, he's 2, but he's very well behaved. But when he was a baby and she couldn't count on,
him not crying or something.
Not, I think she just had, really good candy and a few things, and she handed it out to the people all around them and said, "I'm apologizing in advance."
Okay.
We'll do our best.
Well, more and more people apparently are doing that. They're making up little goodie bags containing things like gum, candy, and earplugs. And they're saying it works in terms of sort of PR, saying, I'm, listen, I can't help it. I got to travel. I got a kid. I'm here. And yet there's a pushback going on. Strong backlash has developed denouncing this practice, everything in this world today.
Right. How dare you try and acknowledge that
everything's a fight. Susan. Okay, denouncing it. Can you, Susan? What would the denouncers? What would the denouncers? What would their argument be?
Okay, well, I'm going to throw out peanut allergies right away. I'm gonna say that child has every right to make whatever noise, and everybody else should lump it. And how dare they? How dare they not give that child its human rights to scream and screw up your whole air flight?
Okay, so yeah, that's sort of where they're coming from. Not quite. Sure. That's not quite what they're saying. They're saying, here's a quote from one of them, Rebecca Dubé from Today Parents senior editor at Today, and a mother of two. This is part of a dangerous trend. Come on.
What do you mean part of it a dangerous?
I mean, can you imagine? See, here's the total misuse of language, right?
A dangerous trend
is handing out candy bars.
Trying to be
proactive.
To be proactive and polite to the people around you whom you know you have a fair chance of disturbing.
Right.
I do not think that's a dangerous trend.
It's a dangerous,
a nice thing and disarming thing to do.
Okay, and here's why she says it's a dangerous trend. The trend she sees is people apologizing or being made to feel that they should apologize for having children.
I do not. I think that is like the worst case scenario interpretation of that action.
Me too.
I think that whole action is designed to deal with the expression that we all get on our face when we see someone with a small child aiming toward the seat next to us. And if you think you are controlling that expression on your face, you're not. So it's best to just, instead, you're going to get handed this little thing, and it's going to turn that, oh, shit, into a, oh, how cute, that's very nice. And it starts the whole relationship off on a different foot.
Yeah.
And I think it's a cute and smart thing to do. I mean, believe me, I just flew and I was treating myself, now that I'm old, and I was up in first class, and I upgraded with miles because I fly so.
You don't have to explain why you were in first class.
I was in first class. Well, because once I get in first class, I feel very entitled.
Well, sure. That's why they call it first class.
I'm trying to explain, that I feel very entitled. And who's sitting, across from me but
a baby,
a father and his 2-year-old, and in front of them is the mother with the 4-month-old strapped to the front of her, and so. And, there's all these people that do not think that children should even be allowed in first class. But
when the stewardess comes along and offers drinks, give the kids a bourbon or two and shut them up.
Yeah, a little wine on their... But these kids were perfectly... The baby never said boo.
Yeah.
And the little girl was just talking nonstop, and it was very cute.
Well, those are first-class children, Susan.
Those were first-class children.
They weren't kicking chairs. No. Okay, so I got to say, if I hear the Girl from Ipanema theme one more time, I'm going to scream. And I'm looking at, and then we got to go, I'm looking at the headline for the Snot Otter, and as I'm looking at it, I start singing it in my head to flat and snotty and...
Dun, 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 dun.
Flat and snotty and big white mouth, beady eyes, stretched the skin, and then slimy muscle. The snot otter goes sliming along. I don't know. Flat and snot. No, I'll have to work on that. A little bit or a lot. Shit.
And you did see I was right. It was Gisele Bündchen, and yes, she is from Brazil.
Yeah, it's Gisele Bündchen from Brazil, and everybody's raving at the fact that she walked.
That she walked. Did you see that? She walked from there all the way over to there.
I saw a little snippet of it. So friggin' what?
She smiled.
She walked.
She walked.
They said she stole the whole show. She walked.
No, she just walked. It was, considering all of the things that are happening there, I thought that was one of the most incredible things I saw.
Give her a gold medal for walking! Okay. Susan, thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye. As for you guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Toodles.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.